There is a problem that exists for everybody in this room. And this problem is affecting the way that you run your construction company. This problem is affecting the productivity of your employees, and it's affecting the service that you're able to provide to your customers. And it's affecting the profitability of your business. And because the construction industry plays such a vital role in the overall U.S. economy, this problem is affecting our country as well. This problem is the reason why you can't find the skilled labor that you need today. This problem is called the skills gap. Now, the skills gap is easy to define. It's just there simply aren't enough people entering the workforce with the trade skills necessary to balance the number of people that are leaving the workforce. And it's this imbalance that's creating a gap between the number of skilled jobs and the number of qualified people to fill those jobs. And the skills gap has been growing steadily for about 20 years, but it was accelerated by the recession about 10 years ago. And now that demand for these jobs is higher than it's ever been, it doesn't really make sense as to why the skills gap is increasing. It was increasing during the recession because not only were those jobs lost, but those people were lost too. You see, they left the industry and they're not coming back. And they took all of the years' worth of training and skills along with them. And so they left the industry because they got burned. And the construction businesses that survived the recession and the ones that have started since then are still feeling the pain of this mass exodus of people, talent, and resources that left our industry. But, that was nearly a decade ago. Why is the gap still growing? Well, that's the problem that we in this room and back in our businesses and in our communities, as professionals in the construction industry, that's a problem that we need to solve. So what's the solution? We have to solve this problem because no one else will. And the solution's not easy, but that's okay. I mean, if we wanted an easy job, we would have chosen to do another line of work, right? We're not scared of hard work. I mean, we build stuff with our hands. We transform the landscape of this country by our own blood, sweat, and tears. Unfortunately, quite literally sometimes. So we're not scared of hard work, and we can solve this problem if we do this one thing. We must ignite a revival in the trades. Now, I like that word, revival. It means to make something popular and active and important again. And I really like that word, again. You see, 50 or 60 years ago, the trades were respected as honorable and worthwhile lifelong pursuit. But now, society looks down on the trades. So, maybe you've heard this before. Oh, you can go and try that job in that career, and don't worry if it doesn't work out. You can always get a job in construction. How many of you heard that? Raise your hand. Yeah? And if you haven't heard it, you've probably felt like when you told somebody what you do, oh, I'm a contractor, I'm a siding contractor, I'm a roofer. You know what's behind their eyes, right? Oh, you weren't good enough to do something else, and that's why you're in construction. How many of you have felt that? Yeah, a few hands go up. And if you haven't heard that and you haven't felt that, well, welcome to the construction industry. It's only a matter of time before that happens. But nothing could be further from the truth. See, you're in construction because you have a passion for what you do. You're in construction because you're good at what you do. You're excellent at what you do. You like to make stuff with your hands. And we've got to change the way society looks at us in the construction industry. Because you see, perception is reality, and changing this perception is what Keep Craft Alive is all about. Now, if you're younger than probably about 45 years old, you know that this is a hashtag, right? And if you're about my age and your mid-40s or older, you don't know what a hashtag is, and you refer to that thing up there as a pound sign. Well, the Millennials stole the pound sign from us older folks, and they call it a hashtag. And anyway, a hashtag is just a way to search for a term online. But Keep Craft Alive has become much bigger than just a search term on social media. Now, I'm not exactly sure of the origin, but I think that it started somewhere in the depths of the offices of Taunton Press. Taunton Press is the parent company that publishes Fine Home Building magazine, and many others. But someone there came up with that term, Keep Craft Alive, because it defined a call to action that needed to be said. The Keep Craft Alive started as a slogan to bring awareness to the fact that craftsmanship and the skilled trades were dying off in this country. And man, did it ever strike a chord with a whole new generation of tradespeople. This new generation of skilled tradespeople started to not only identify their work with this slogan, but they also found a community online of like-minded craftspeople all over the world that were proud of the fact that they chose to go into the trades. And what started as a slogan or a hashtag became a campaign. Fine Home Building launched keepcraftalive.org in 2017 with one goal in mind: to leverage its resources to help close the skills gap in this country. And they partnered with industry organizations and influencers to build awareness of the skills, training, and educational opportunities that exist in this country, and to help fund scholarships to support those students that wanted to pursue a career in the trades. And by the end of 2017, that campaign became a movement. And here are just a few of the stats that this movement has generated. So the hashtag KeepCraftAlive was put out into social media and on post by over 4,000 unique users. That's 4,000 tradespeople and craftsmen using that hashtag on Instagram and Facebook, their blog posts, YouTube, and other websites. Those over 4,000 users generated over 54,000 posts. And those 54,000 posts, here's where it gets exciting, reached 6.5 million people. That's 6.5 million people that were exposed to what craftsmanship looks like. They were exposed to what professionals in the construction industry do. But it doesn't stop there. Those 6.5 million people viewed those posts, and in social media terms, it generated over 142 million impressions. Over 142 million times that craftsmanship, professionalism, and the construction industry was put on display online. By the end of 2017, these were the numbers, and this is what a movement looks like. This is how a movement starts, with one idea, in one business, with one mission, to accomplish one goal. And all of the folks at Fine Home Building were quite pleased by these numbers, if not pleasantly surprised. They understand that hundreds of millions of impressions are only the beginning. Like I said before, the goal of Fine Home Building's Keep Craft Alive movement is to leverage its resources to help solve the problem of the skills gap. And I'm here today simply to inform you of this movement and to celebrate the partnerships that Fine Home Building has created with other industry leaders such as Certainty. So I'm going to pause here for a second. I'm going to embarrass a few people in the room, but I'm going to ask those folks that are with Fine Home Building and with Certainty if you would stand up. Come on, we're all friends here. These people, I just wanted to point out, these people work for an organization that gets it. They work for an organization that is willing to put their time, their money, no, stay standing, time, I told you I was going to embarrass you, time, money, and resources behind solving this problem. And I just want to take a second to show our appreciation for what this company is doing for the skilled trades. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Okay, now you can sit down. Thank you for letting me embarrass you a little bit. All right, so now let's solve the problem of the skills gap in America. And Keep Craft Alive is implementing a three-part solution. First, we have to identify the root cause of the problem. Second, we need to inform younger generations of the endless possibilities and the lucrative career paths within the trades. And finally, we must inspire not only the younger generations, but we must inspire today's society to change the way that they view the trades. So first, let's identify the problem. See, the skills gap is widening because of what I call a physical gap in the workforce. There just aren't enough people entering the workforce with in the trades to balance the amount of people that are leaving the workforce. And a lot of these folks are leaving the workforce because they're getting older and they're retiring. And this is the physical problem, and it's simply math. You see, 0 minus 10 will never equal 2. And so here are the numbers of this physical gap. Some industry reports suggest that there will be 10 million skilled jobs vacant by 2020. And some reports say that the number is more like 31 million by 2020. And that's just 2 short years away. So you might ask yourself, well, how can these numbers be so large? Well, approximately 10,000 baby boomers retire every single day. And this fact alone is widening the skills gap. But there's something else going on here. And I believe this other thing is deepening the skills gap. You see, the boomers were told that the way to get a good job was by earning a college degree. And that may have been true 40 years ago, but times have changed. You see, when the greatest generation came back from fighting World War II to build this country, having a high school diploma was the way to get a good job. And a lot of those ended up being skilled jobs in construction. But when we looked around and everybody had a high school diploma, then you were told you got to get a college degree in order to be successful, in order to get a good job. And then when everybody had college degrees, you got to get a master's degree. That's your key to success. So we have, over the generations, designed professional students, not professional workers. And it's just not that way anymore. And what may have only been a physical gap has now grown into a cultural gap as well. The cultural gap is more of a misalignment of beliefs. And this misalignment has created a deep gap between the reality of qualifying for a good job and the myths surrounding preparing for a good job. So let's take a look at a couple of myths that surround what a good job is versus what society says it is. First is simple, what we've all heard, you got to go to college and get a 4-year degree in order to get a good job. You get a degree, you're going to get a good job. And that's just false. The numbers show 66% of all jobs do not require a college degree. 66, almost 2/3 of all jobs do not require a college degree. But that's what we're told. You got to get a college degree. But the problem is that information and technology is expanding at such a rate that what you study on the university campuses is usually outdated by the time you graduate. And so what are these university students? What do they have to do? How are they trying to compete? They have to get on-the-job training. What does that sound like? Sounds like the construction industry to me. All right, so that's one myth, that you got to get a college degree in order to get a good job. The reality is 2/3 of all jobs don't require a college degree. Sure, there is some post-secondary education that may be required, an associate's degree, maybe some college training, but not certainly a 4-year degree. Another myth, if you go to college and you get one of these degrees, that you want to get a white-collar job, because these white-collar jobs are in high demand, and they pay really high salaries. And that may be true right now. They certainly do. There's nothing wrong with a white-collar job. And they have some potential to pay a lot of money, but they're also come at a very high cost to their employers. And again, the rate at which technology is advancing and information is advancing, the myth of a white-collar job being in high demand is going away because of this statement. If it can be done by a computer, it will be done by a computer. And these industries, such as medicine, law, finance, management, and accounting will all be outsourced to a computer. These repetitive tasks can be programmed and put into an algorithm. And if they're not, because we live in a global economy now, they'll be outsourced to cheaper labor. So the myth is white-collar jobs are in high demand and they pay a lot of money, but you're competing against the robots now. But I'm not aware of any robot that can shingle a house. There is no algorithm that can pull wire. And I guarantee you this, there will never be an app that unclogs a toilet. You can't outsource what you do in this room to another country. You can't, because you got to build the stuff here, right? So that's the myth. We got to dispel those myths. And that's the first step in closing the skills gap, is to identify the problem and encourage high school and college-age students to consider the realities of the job market of the future. And the future is not decades away. The future is right now. So the next step to solve the skills gap is to inform society of the investment required to obtain training necessary for the jobs that are in demand right now. Let's talk about the money. And again, I'm a numbers guy. I kind of geek out on this stuff. But let's compare the cost associated with obtaining a college degree and the cost of a trade school degree. All right, so we've got two students here. One goes to the university, and the other goes to a trade school with an associate's degree or some post-secondary education. And here are the numbers. On average, you're going to pay $127,000 to get a 4-year degree in this country. Anybody have any idea what the average cost is for a trade school graduate? Anybody? Guess. 15? 25? Close. Average cost $33,000 for a trade school. We'll call it a trade school graduate. Okay, and I know what you're going to say, or I know what you probably heard is, oh, well, if you get a college degree, you have the opportunity. I heard that you have the opportunity to earn $1 million more in your lifetime. And again, that was true back 50 years ago when that study was done. Because what they were doing is they were comparing college graduates to all high school students, including high school students that never graduated from high school. Because the point was to encourage people, right, to go from getting a high school diploma into college. But that's changed now, right? The study is wrong. The information is bad because we showed 66% of all jobs don't require a college degree at all. But let's take a look at what the numbers say for these two students, okay? Our university graduate is going to earn, on average, when they graduate, about $45,000 in salary. Does anybody have a guess what a trade school graduate is going to earn in salary? 75? It's not that good. Not that good. Anyone else? It's not 75. It's not 55. It's pretty close to the university student. It's $42,000, right? And so some people say, "Oh, look right there. The university student is ahead." Right? They are ahead. But let's dig in and let's keep looking at the numbers here. Let's look into the future when both of these students are 52. And here's where the numbers really start to matter. Let's assume that you start college at 18 in a 4-year degree. So you're going to get out of college at age 22. But on average, a trade school degree is going to be 2 years. You're going to enter the workforce 2 years earlier and start earning an income 2 years ahead of the university student. So the university student will have 30 years in the workforce by the time they reach the age of 52, and the trade school graduate will have 32 years, earning 2 additional years of income. And this is what the numbers look like based on the average salary. The university student is going to earn about $1.35 million by the time they hit age 32 in lifetime salary. And the trade school student is going to be just slightly behind them at $1.34 million. It's only a difference of $6,000. Now, that difference, just playing the numbers, do go towards the university student.
Yeah, but plus the initial investment.
I didn't pay him to say this. That's a great point. Because that $6,000 comes at a huge risk. And that risk is called debt. And our college students have trillions of dollars worth of student loan debt. Right now, I'm not saying that financing your education is wrong by no means, and that a trade school student wouldn't have to also finance theirs. That's not what I'm talking about. But the numbers do matter. I won't bore you with too many more numbers, but here's how they work. If the average cost for university students is $127,000, financed at 4% over 10 years, the cost is $150,000. You take that same trade school student, $33,000 average cost, financed over 10 years at 4% interest is $40,000. $150,000 investment versus a $40,000 investment, or $154,000 investment versus $140,000 investment. Sure, the university student makes a little bit more, but the trade school graduate saves over $114,000. That's just how the math works out. To me, that's 114,000 reasons to have a conversation with my kids. That's 114,000 reasons to have a conversation with my neighbor or the other guy on the job site, right? To talk to them about what the numbers mean. But that's how the money works. And I'm not saying that pursuing a college degree is a bad idea. Far from it. I'm only saying that we should encourage young people to weigh all of their options. And pursuing a post-secondary education in the trades just might be what many of our youth are looking for. They may just not know it. Another interesting statistic that no one ever talks about, but it's out there, is 40% of all students that enter college don't graduate. This is why Fine Home Building has partnered with an organization like Skills USA. Skills USA is a national partnership of over 360,000 students, teachers, and industry representatives working together to ensure America has a skilled workforce. They're a nonprofit, individual member organization, and they serve middle school, high school, and college and post-secondary students who are preparing specifically for careers in technical, skilled, and service occupations. So has anyone ever heard of Skills USA? Okay, a few hands here. What about trade schools in your town or in your community? Raise your hand if you have a trade school or you know of a town. Hold them up. I want to make a point here. All right, hold them up high. So there's some people that know of some trade schools. Now, keep your hand up if you've engaged with them, if you've visited them, if you donated money, or have you thought about going to them and getting some of their students as your employees? See, this is the problem that we need to solve. We've got these organizations like Skills USA right in our backyard. We know about them, but for some reason we're not engaging with them. And that's what I hope that this presentation can inspire you to do. But here's what Skills USA does. It's their mission to empower its members to become world-class workers, leaders, and responsible American citizens. That's right off their website. And that makes me stand up proud. That's very patriotic. Almost brings a tear to my eye. And they do this by focusing on developing students' workplace, personal, and technical skills. Workplace, personal, and technical skills. You know, those things that employers are actually looking for? As part of this step in solving the skills gap, Fine Home Building has established a scholarship fund for students that are pursuing education specifically in the construction-related fields. And here's what we did in 2017. We raised over $25,000 in scholarships, and Certainty Corporation was a participant in that and donated $20,000 to Fine Home Building to the Skills USA program. That's 5 scholarships of $5,000 going to 5 students that are going to be working in 5 real jobs. And this is how you make a difference. But Fine Home Building and Skills USA and Certainty didn't want to stop there. Their goals are even bigger for this year. So in this year, in 2018, the goal is to raise $100,000 in 2018 and fund over $40,000 in scholarships to students through Skills USA. And they're well on their way to doing that. A couple of weeks ago, I was down in Orlando at the International Builder Show, and we held a fundraising event with Fine Home Building, and we had over 200 attendees donating money at the event. The goal was to raise $10,000, and these attendees, sure, some of them were business people, some of them were executives, most of them were skilled tradespeople. They represented businesses from all over the United States that came together one night in one event and put their money where their mouth was and raised over $15,000 in one night. So we're well on our way to reaching that goal, and I'm sure that we'll be able to surpass that goal. And like I said, Certainty is a partner in that, and so we want to thank them for that. Now, lastly, if you're not really familiar with Fine Home Building, it's a great resource for everything building related. And here's some of the forward thinking and stuff that I just want to make you aware about, especially if you're not on social media, you don't really kind of get it. Your younger employees do, and this is where they're going to be kind of hanging out. So in 2017, Fine Home Building created the Brand Ambassador Program, which I'm very proud to be a member of. Basically, they reached out to industry professionals, and these guys are contractors, subcontractors, and in my case, business coach on the business side of things, and they just tapped them on the shoulder. And they said, we want to challenge you. We respect you for what you do for the trades, but we want to challenge you to inspire more and more people. out there. So I'm very thrilled to be listed with this group of guys. I put the tool belt down a long time ago because I realized that I'm not a very good carpenter. I'm much better with a spreadsheet. But they needed somebody, all of these guys are hammer swingers and incredible craftsmen, but they needed some nerd in the office to, run the spreadsheet. So another thing that Fine Home Building is doing is they produce a world-class podcast. And again, you have to understand the younger generation, they're getting their information differently than we did. They don't trust the media. They don't even pay attention to the media. They're getting all of their information through Google, through Facebook, and through YouTube, and through podcasts. So if you want your stock to go up with your younger crew members, tell them that you've downloaded the Fine Home Building podcast and you're listening to it. They'll give you some cool points for that. And then obviously the magazine itself is basically the gospel for all things residential construction and for building science. And they've taken all of this information and have an incredible website where they're making a difference. So just wanted to kind of give a little plug for Fine Home Building because they are putting all of their time, their energy, and their resources behind solving this problem. All right, and the final step in this 3-part solution to close the skills gap is to inspire people around us. So that's your friends, your families, and your communities. And we need to inspire them to view a career in the trades as noble and worthwhile. And also inspire younger generations to consider what the path to success looks like and that it might not come with a college degree. So it's up to everyone in this room to solve the problem. So there's this saying, if it's up to everyone, or if everyone is responsible, then no one is responsible. And what that means is if you're trying to get a thing done, if you say everyone's responsible, but no one's accountable, then that thing won't get done. So I challenge you to take this message home to your businesses, to your communities, to your friends and family, and hold yourself responsible and accountable for doing something. Reach out to those trade schools, talk to people, jump on social media, and show the world what it is that you do every day. Now, you might be saying, okay, Shawn, I get it. I want to do my part in inspiring people in my business, but I can't find people to work in my business. What am I supposed to do? What can I do? And I say, you're right. You can't find the skilled labor that you need to work in your business because it doesn't exist. Stop looking for it. Start creating it. You have to stop hiring for skill because it doesn't exist. You got to stop hiring for skill and start hiring for character. In my work with a lot of construction companies all over the United States, this is their hiring procedure. They hire, they hope, and they hang on. Okay, a little chuckles there because it's true, right? We hire when we get desperate. We hope that it works out, and we hang on way too long after we know it's not going to work out, right? And that's affecting your businesses. It's those people that aren't doing a good job as employees in our construction company. They're the ones that people look at and say, oh, yeah, construction, because you had to fire them, you had to let them go, right? So you need to change that mentality from hire, hope, and hang on to recruit, hire, and train. And recruiting is a mindset, and recruiting never stops. Because when you recruit the best people and you hire the right people and you train them, they'll stay with you for a long time. And it's this recruit, hire, and train that creates opportunities and shows people a path. So that's what you can do. Now, we've talked a lot about this younger generation, and I've used that term a lot. Let's just be frank. I'm talking about millennials, right? They are the largest portion of our workforce today. And I know millennials get a bad rap. Oh, they're lazy, right? They don't want to work. They're on their cell phones all the time, and they don't get it, right? They're just different than the way that we grew up. But all of that is false. The truth about millennials, they're the biggest portion of the workforce today, but they're also the most educated, they're the most well-connected, and most importantly, they're the most empathetic generation. You may be saying, well, what the heck does empathy have to do with running a construction business? And here's what it is. They don't care about money. They don't. And I know that that's hard to believe because we were all taught, got to make a profit, got to make a profit. It's not as important to them because they saw their parents accumulate wealth and then they saw it disappear in the blink of an eye. What millennials want is they want to know that they have an impact, and they want to know that they're making a difference. So the recruit, hire, and train mentality creates opportunities for them and gives them a path, right? It shows them where they can go with your company. So when you stop hiring for skill and start hiring for character, and you give these millennials a path, get out of their way. They're going to be using technology like you never did. They can transform your business. But you got to have that mindset, and it's got to switch. Because when people know where they're going and how to get there, then they're going to feel accomplished along the way. They'll take that sense of accomplishment home with them, and that will inspire hope in their communities and in their families. So you ask, what can I do? You can provide hope, because hope is contagious. You see, you are the spark. Whether you're the owner, the manager, or the employee, the way in which you perform your job and put your craft on display for the world to see, that is the fuel that will ignite a revival in the trades. And igniting a revival in the trades is the solution to the skills gap. And I encourage you to do your part in this movement to keep craft alive. Thank you.